I always thought Roger holding a sword was a meme. I didn't think he was an actual swordsman. It's a certain way a swordsman carries himself. And the way Roger was holding the sword, it looked like a meme. It didn't look like something or his actual primary weapon. Because, I mean, a lot of people, they pick up swords and it seems like that's their primary weapon, but is it really the case? So here's the thing. Here's the conversation today, because I've been thinking about it. I'm not sure the angle to come at this from because it's so many contradictory things that I think about it. So I just want to play it out and you guys give me your thoughts as far as what makes a swordsman in your eyes. Because you have your traditional swordsman and then you have your swordsmen who also have devil fruits. This is a larger view of the Mihawk versus Shanks debate. And if you don't know what the Mihawk versus Shanks debate is, then you should join the Discord and figure it out. But the Mihawk versus Shanks debate, all it is are Mihawk fans and Shanks fans, they're jockeying for position. And it comes down to different arguments that people have. The argument for Mihawk always has been, he's the world's greatest swordsman, the world's best swordsman, most accomplished, everything there. There's nothing to disqualify Mihawk as the world's greatest. Then you have Shanks on the other hand, who is technically a swordsman, right? Because he uses a sword, but he is a Yonko. So a lot of people have Shanks over Mihawk, even though Mihawk's a swordsman. So that causes a rift because the people that believe that Mihawk is stronger, they have that argument on their side. But then the Shanks fans, they have an argument as well talking about Shanks and when he became a Yonko. Because for the longest, we thought Shanks was a Yonko back then when he approached Luffy. A lot of people felt that way, right? Shanks became a Yonko 6 years ago. So Shanks was not fighting Mihawk while he was a Yonko. It was way before he was a Yonko, and Mihawk has not fought Shanks in a long time. Ever since he lost his arm, Mihawk refuses to fight Shanks. So where does this leave us? Well, you have the world's strongest swordsman on one hand. Not sure if he was the world's strongest back then, but even in the novel, the Ace novel, revealed that Shanks, most of his notoriety came from fighting Mihawk. So with all this information, you have someone, again, the world's greatest swordsman, and you have a Yonko, a newly appointed Yonko, fairly new, right? Fairly recent, but they haven't fought in a long time. Therefore, how do you evaluate that? People tell me that, you know, Mihawk knew Shanks wasn't strong because he has observation haki, blah, blah, blah. Then I go to the Whitebeard thing. If Mihawk knew Shanks wasn't strong, then he should have known Whitebeard wasn't strong, right? With the observation haki, why would you need to attack him if you felt the same way? So it's like a bunch of different arguments built in here, and you can understand how toxic that can get. But then this leads to the greater argument. What makes a swordsman? What is a true swordsman? And how do you hold Mihawk's title? I'm not sure if this is a shock to people, but for a long time, Zoro was my favorite character. Everything about that character I enjoyed. Sometimes when you apply different character traits to your life, I always felt like personally, I would better operate as a second in command because I wouldn't want the responsibility of a captain. So I would be an amazing right hand. Right? And I feel like Zoro, that's what Zoro is. And Zoro, for the most part, a strong silent type, and he just goes about his business. So for me, I related more to Zoro than to Luffy. Or most other characters. Of course, things have changed now, right? But that drew me to swordsmanship in general. The chapters or the episodes with Tashigi talking about the swords, the great grade, supreme grade, those pulled me in. So for Wano, I had major expectations just in regards to swordsmanship and us finding new swordsmen, new samurai, people to duel, to kind of elevate Zoro and get him to the point where he can accomplish his dream. Long story short, that's not what Wano is, right? It's a whole thing going on in Wano outside of just like true swordsmanship, a true mastery of the sword. The most competent swordsmen, samurai, I could say, that are left in Wano, they're on the Alliance's side, Ashura Doji and Dendro. So Zoro's not going to fight them, but Zoro more than likely, he's going to fight King. And King has a sword, therefore King is a swordsman, right? Like Roger having a sword, I thought it was a meme. Roger attacking Odin with his sword surprised the hell out of me. I didn't think that Roger was competent enough with a sword to have an actual named technique to send someone of Odin's caliber flying. That was not how I pictured Roger at all. There's some funny theories out here, right? And some people felt like Roger had the hear, no me. Whereas like his mustache could turn into something and that's how he fought, right? Those are theories that were floating around. And like I was talking about with Roger having a devil fruit, I always thought it was crazy, right? I don't know why, but I always thought it was crazy for Whitebeard to be as strong as he is and Roger competing with him without having a devil fruit. And then with Shiki as well and his overpowered devil fruit, I always thought that Roger would absolutely have a devil fruit, especially knowing Rayleigh doesn't have one. So I was like, the captain should, right? It's not confirmed that he does or does not. I think it makes more sense if he does. But what if he doesn't? What if Roger is literally just a swordsman and that makes him truly strong? How does this change your perspective on characters? If we think about the consensus top 5 all time, right? The top 3 or top 4 people are going to have all the time is at least Roger, Whitebeard, Garp, and I guess you can throw Shiki or Zebek in there. But if Roger doesn't have a devil fruit, right? You have Roger with no devil fruit, Whitebeard with a devil fruit, Garp with no devil fruit, and Shiki with a devil fruit. And people speculate Zebek has Blackbeard's devil fruit. That's something that's out there. That would mean Roger being a swordsman was, a top tier. And a lot of people view him as the strongest ever. I mean, I have Whitebeard right there with him. It's whatever, semantics, right? But then bringing it back to Mihawk and him having the title of the world's strongest swordsman. With Wano, right? And my expectation of Samurai, I thought Mihawk would be mentioned in Wano or have some stake in Wano at some point. I'm starting to question how important is actual and true swordsmanship in One Piece? Because there's always a feel I have with people using the blade. For instance, Kaku. Kaku is a swordsman, but Kaku was incorporating so many different techniques into swordsmanship, he was outside the realm of a traditional swordsman. I'm talking about within the prism of One Piece, because when you think about traditional swordsman and what it means in general, One Piece doesn't have any of that, right? It's not about that. This isn't Rurouni Kenshin. However, within the prism of One Piece, I have people that I view as true swordsmen, whereas they follow the way of the blade. They believe in their blade, they grow with their blade, and therefore I call those true swordsmen. The people I have in that realm, and it's weird because a wrinkle got thrown into it, right? The people I had in that realm, Mihawk, Zoro, Shiryu, you can tell Fujitora, Cavendish, Momonga, like people like that, you believe that their primary form of fighting or way of fighting was the sword. But let's look at two of these people. Fujitora and Shiryu. They both have devil fruits. Fujitora with the Zushi, the gravity fruit, and then you have Shiryu with the invisible fruit. Does this change how you view them? Are they not true swordsmen anymore? For instance, right? Mihawk fights Fujitora for the world's greatest title. And then Fujitora defeats Mihawk with a meteor. Did he take the title or did he just win? Those semantic arguments are prevalent in the One Piece community because we just don't know. You would think if Mihawk loses, period, if his opponent is using a sword, you lose. But if he gets beaten by a meteor, does that really count? I guess people would say, well, if you get beaten by a meteor, how are you the world's greatest swordsman? We know Mihawk would never get beaten by a meteor, but how would that work? With Shiryu, him being invisible now, we're not sure how that would work. Can he be sensed by observation haki? You should be. But something we saw in Zou, the Minks were able to hide their presence from even Luffy. He didn't even know they were back there. So is the invisible fruit going to give them that type of haki or that type of mastery where no one can sense them? Because then if you defeat someone using that power, did you really win a swordsman duel? I mentioned this before in a previous video as far as like the world's strongest and the world's greatest titles. Whereas Dragon, we assume he has the world's highest bounty, so that's an official title. With Whitebeard, Mihawk, Kaido, those things, they're not granted by the government. So how does one earn this title? We even go to Mihawk versus Big Mom. Personally, I think Mihawk could lose to Big Mom, but obviously Big Mom has a lot more outside of just swordsmanship. But she is a swordsman. Her primary form or a primary weapon she uses is a sword. So therefore, if she loses to Mihawk, Mihawk should lose his title. But Big Mom is also blitzing you with Zeus and Prometheus. And she could have homies around. Should one lose their title for that? It's funny because a lot of people don't like to use the One Piece wiki. I like using it as a point of reference for different things and just seeing the general consensus, because that's what the wiki is for the most part, right? If you look at who swordsmen are, even Moria is counted as a swordsman. Even Arlong and Hawkins. But the thing is, we saw Hawkins and he used a sword, but he has an insane devil fruit. Where does this leave us as far as a true swordsman versus a devil fruit powered swordsman, or swordsmen that have different things outside of their like just swordsmanship, right? Because that's the argument a lot of Shanks fans have, that over the years, because Shanks lost an arm, he had to develop different ways to fight. And this is my personal opinion, right? I view Roger and Rayleigh differently. I think Roger has several different ways to fight. Literally, like I think he can fight with a sword, with his fists. I think Roger can brawl. I think Rayleigh is a swordsman. Where Rayleigh can do different things, of course, hockey-wise, we're not disputing that at all. But I think Rayleigh's primary function, that's where he excels, is with the sword. I think Roger with a sword, with his fists, with anything, would be top tier. So it's like, again, the pure swordsman, the true swordsman versus Roger, who can use a sword, but has different ways to fight. But then we take it to Kizaru versus Rayleigh. Rayleigh pulled out a sword, Kizaru made a sword with the light. He's a swordsman. All Marines, they're trained in the way of the sword. Can you call them a swordsman? The definition of a swordsman, though, is someone that's been trained in the way of the blade. But I don't think that's clear enough for someone like Mihawk in regards to his title. If he loses to some BS, he shouldn't lose the title of the world's greatest swordsman because he lost to a fucking meteor. I'm really not sure how to end this argument. The side I stand on of course, when Mihawk and Shanks is Shanks. I don't think Mihawk is far behind, but I do think with Shanks, either different techniques or different methods of combat, he's figured out a way to evolve just past a regular swordsman. So it's a difficult debate. That's why when somebody says Mihawk is stronger than Shanks, I disagree, but I'm like, I understand why you would say that. That's like the dictionary definition of a swordsman. Shanks is that, and Mihawk is the greatest one. But again, they haven't fought in a long time. He's a Yonko now, but Yonko is a territorial thing. It's a crazy thing, and One Piece, it's a lot of semantical arguments like that where it leads to nowhere. But it was definitely on my mind because I was rereading, Roger versus Odin and that whole thing with Whitebeard, and that was a shock. That was a complete shock. Roger choosing that technique was sexy, by the way. Our Pirate King, he's a swordsman until further notice. But even still, he's that adept with a sword. No matter what else is revealed, you have to classify him as that. I'm not sure if I confused you more, but that's just like how I'm thinking about this whole debate. Like, where do we go from here? With King, right? King being a Zoan, he has fire properties in some way, but he's a swordsman. He has a sword. You have to classify him as that. But it's just so much to it. Give me your thoughts though. I don't know. What makes a true swordsman? Who the hell knows? As long as you're adept with a sword, you have to be classified as a swordsman. But personally, I don't think Mihawk has fought Big Mom. I don't think he's defeated Big Mom, but he has the title. But that's not confirmed either. Vista had different ways to fight as well, and Mihawk acknowledged him, so I'm not sure if this debate would ever be solved or figured out. Something would have to happen in the story where Oda definitively talks about how Mihawk got the title and how one can get the title from Mihawk. Obviously, you have to beat him, but are there any parameters within that? What's allowed, what's not allowed, as far as having that title? Or is a title just arbitrary, something you threw out there to hype up Mihawk so Zoro can have an end goal? Because of course, normally with One Piece fans, One Piece stands, it's overthought, and then we try to attach logic to it when Oda hasn't thought as much about it. But give me your thoughts, guys. How do you feel about it? Make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Follow me on Twitter. I'm gonna start putting up polls in regards to different topics that I'm thinking about, and I'm gonna start using them in videos. So I would like for you guys to follow me there so I can get a good idea of how you feel about it before I talk about it, because then that gives me an idea as far as like the consensus and how people are looking at it, right? So follow me on Twitter at BragoDAce. Follow me on Instagram at Bragoti.ace. I'm on Twitch as well, twitch.tv/BragoDAce. I think tonight we're either gonna do Persona or Final Fantasy. I'm not sure. Thank you to my patrons as well. I appreciate you guys so much. You help me out a lot. But again, like and subscribe. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.